One of the least understood but most challenging issues that men face in bed is delayed ejaculation. And that is the inability to reach orgasm, especially with a partner. I recently have seen many people in my office who are dealing with delayed ejaculation. And one of the things that I see that is a commonality among many men, not all with delayed ejaculation, but many, is avoidant attachment. Now, avoidant attachment style is characterized by a fear of closeness, a fear of rejection, high levels of independence, and sometimes mixed signals. Like they want a relationship, but it scares them. They feel like they could get stifled or trapped. And so they push people away while also wanting them to come close, while also being fearful of all of that closeness. And so they push them back away. And just like other attachment styles, there's nothing right or wrong, and all of this can be looked at and healed, especially through relationship, but also through coaching or therapy. There are several reasons that folks with avoidant attachment are experiencing delayed ejaculation, and I am going to share those with you now. Number one, emotional guarding. Avoidantly attached people often protect themselves by maintaining an emotional distance, even and maybe even especially during sex, because sex is so vulnerable, right? But we still want to have sex, but it's scary. This constant internal guard keeps our nervous system from fully relaxing. And since orgasm and ejaculation require us to relax and let go of control, this tension becomes an obstacle and it can prevent the body's ability to reach climax. Number two, detachment from sensory experience. Avoidant attachment leads people to sort of stay in their heads. It's a protective mechanism rather than to be totally present in their bodies. And if they find themselves like taking emotional distance, kind of like pulling back from the person that they are present with, they may focus less on sensation and more on controlling or managing their emotional responses. To stay in their heads, rather be present in their bodies. Again, this is about self-protection. So when their desire to emotionally distance kicks in, they may focus less on sensation and more on controlling or managing their own emotional response. This mental distance dampens pleasure and arousal, and it leads to a disconnect between the mind and the body that can prevent ejaculation. Number three, discomfort with vulnerability and a loss of control. Ejaculation at its core is a surrender. We have to be willing to let go, fully relax, release, even feel like we're going offline for a minute. But for someone with an avoidant attachment style, vulnerability, even in small doses, can feel very uncomfortable. The need to hold on to and control clashes with the body's natural desire to relax and release, which means that they might not be able to reach orgasm, or that it might take them a long time or a lot of sensation in order to get to orgasm, all of which is caused by resistance to vulnerability that essentially is slamming down on the brakes at the same time as they're slamming down on the gas pedal trying to get to orgasm. And as you know from driving cars, you can't go anywhere if you have both feet on the pedals, unless it's a stick shift. Moving on. Number four, fear of emotional closeness during sex. Many avoidant people struggle to fully connect with their partners during intimacy. Shocking. Well, this creates an emotional wall. And without that feeling of closeness, sometimes physical pleasure is just muted. That's because the body is only one part of what makes sex great. Our minds and our emotions and our connection to something bigger than us or spirituality, these all also play into sex. So when we're just having physical sex and it's not getting us to orgasm, we shouldn't be shocked if we're not including those other layers, because like maybe when you were young or like a teenager or you had all this like hormones coursing through you, you could just like blow air at your dick and you would ejaculate. But later in life, your body's not built to do that. Your body and your mind and your emotional body and your energy body, they're like all built to be engaged in something as close and connecting and potentially satisfying and intense as sex itself. Number five, and this one is really important, performance focus as a coping mechanism. Avoidantly attached folks often focus on the mechanics of performance over connection. They concentrate on doing it right so that they can avoid the emotional risk of connecting. I mean, think about what a big payoff it is to just focus on performance. You don't have to like be really that vulnerable. Your mind can just be completely attached to whether or not you get it right, and you can count the number of orgasms or strokes or how how long you lasted as a measure of success that keeps you away from having to connect vulnerably and things that maybe like can't be quantified in terms of an experience. This performance mindset often prizes a prolonged experience, and sometimes people who are really focused on performing in bed actually masturbate longer and longer periods of time and can actually just train their body not to reach climax. If you see yourself, or maybe perhaps your partner, and any of this, fear not. Again, attachment styles are things that we can work on, we can heal. We don't have to be victims of our attachment style. But trust me, it does take effort, and it takes vigilance, and it takes, in my opinion, professional guidance in order to really deeply heal attachment styles, because they're not something that we just comes up from nothing when we end up in a romantic relationship. They are deeply rooted in our childhood. And because they are deeply rooted, it can be really beneficial to have somebody else who lives outside of us and outside of our partnership to help guide us in that healing process. I hope that you give yourself the permission to do that work. It is deeply satisfying when you do. I'm Caitlin B. Thank you so much for being here and subscribing, and I will see you here next week.